12th Bio Zoology Chapter 7 Human Health and Diseases. In this part, we are going to discuss about different types of secondary lymphoid organs. In the previous video, we learned about the primary lymphoid organs. Let us learn some secondary lymphoid organs. You know what are lymphoid organs? Lymphoid organs have tissue which contain lymphocytes. Primary lymphoid organs are concerned with production of lymphocytes and maturation of lymphocytes. In the primary lymphoid organs, the lymphocytes get immune competence, that is, the ability to take part in immunological reactions. From the primary lymphoid organs, for example, bone marrow and thymus. Bone marrow is a primary lymphoid organ. It produces B lymphocytes. Thymus is a primary lymphoid organ. It produces T lymphocytes. The B lymphocytes and T lymphocytes migrate from the primary lymphoid organs and reach the secondary lymphoid organs. These secondary lymphoid organs are called as peripheral lymphoid organs. In the peripheral lymphoid organs, the lymphocytes proliferate. They multiply due to the entry of antigen. Peripheral lymphoid organs are exposed to the antigen, disease-causing organisms. Inside the peripheral lymphoid organs, the lymphocytes proliferate. The peripheral lymphoid organs provide environment and place for the proliferation, that is multiplication of lymphocytes. And the peripheral lymphoid organs act as filter of pathogen. Pathogen entering into the body are filtered. When lymph contains disease-causing organism, that is filtered by the lymph nodes. When blood contains disease-causing organism, the blood is filtered by spleen. Lymph node and spleen are secondary lymphoid organs. Apart from the lymph node and spleen, there are some other secondary lymphoid organs. They are appendix. Appendix is a part of digestive system. It is a vestigial organ. It is a non-functioning organ. And Peyer's patches. Peyer's patches are tissues containing lymphocytes in the inner lining of small intestine. They are found in gastrointestinal tract. Tonsils are lymphoid tissues. The Peyer's patches and tonsils are not like organs. They are lymphoid tissues found in the mouth cavity. Adenoids are lymphoid tissues found in the mouth cavity, in the pharyngeal region, and mucosa associated lymphoid tissue. What is mucous layer? Mucous layer is a protective layer found in different tracts. Example, respiratory tract, digestive tract, reproductive tract, urinary tract. These tracts are exposed to various disease-causing agents. In order to protect these tracts, they are provided with lymphoid tissues called as mucosa associated lymphoid tissues. This type of mucosa associated lymphoid tissues found in bronchi, the airway connecting the trachea, or when that is bronchi associated lymphoid tissue. The mucosa associated lymphoid tissue found in gut, digestive system, is gut associated lymphoid tissue. Let us learn the lymph node. Lymph node is a secondary lymphoid organ. It is a bean-shaped structure. Each lymph node is bean-shaped structure. We have hundreds of lymph nodes in our body, approximately maybe 600 lymph nodes. These lymph nodes are connected to one another through lymph vessels. Lymph vessels connect one lymph node with another lymph node. Antigen enters the tissue spaces. The space between tissue is filled with fluid. The fluid has antigen. Disease-causing organisms enter into the tissue space. The tissue space contains lymph. Lymph is a clear transparent fluid. Lymph is extracellular fluid. The fluid in tissue space is lymph. It is a colorless fluid. It is a fluid connective tissue. When we hear the word fluid connective tissue, we will think about blood. Blood is red color fluid tissue. Lymph is colorless fluid tissue. This tissue is found in the tissue space. So lymph contains antigens, disease causing organisms. This lymph is filtered, drained by lymph nodes. This is one lymph node. The lymph node has inlet lymph vessels. The inlet lymph vessels drain the lymph from the tissue space and pass into the lymph node. From the lymph vessels, the lymph enters into the lymph node. The lymph nodes filter and trap substances that travel through the lymphatic fluid. When some substances travel through the lymphatic fluid, these substances are filled by the lymph node. What are these substances? They are nothing but the pathogens, the disease causing antigens. When the antigenic substances travel through the lymphatic fluid, the lymph nodes filter. Then inside the lymph node, immune cells are there. The cells involved in immunity are inside the lymph node. Lymph node has lymphocytes. These cells destroy the antigen which is filtered inside the lymph node. Antigens are trapped by phagocytes. First, the lymph nodes filter the antigen. They are trapped by phagocytes. Phagocytes are cells that engulf foreign agent. This is a phagocyte. Here the diagram shows the engulfing. A bacterial cell is engulfed by the phagocyte. Macrophages are phagocytes. They are found in the lymph node. They phagocytose the cells. And follicular cells. In the lymph node, cells are arranged in groups called as follicles. The follicular cells attack the foreign disease causing agent which is filtered inside the lymph node. And the lymph node also has dendritic cells. We know what are dendrons. Dendrons are short extensions of nerve cells. Here also the cells have extensions. They resemble the dendrons of the nerve cell. So these cells are called as dendritic cells. These dendritic cells present the antigen to the T cells and other phagocytic cells. So follicular cells, dendritic cells, phagocytic cells, different types of cells destroy the antigen which is filtered inside the lymph node. A lymph node has three regions. Outer region is cortex, inner region is medulla. Outer region is cortex, inner region is medulla. Outer cortex, inner medulla. In between cortex and medulla, a vast area, that is paracortex. So what are the regions of lymph node? Outer cortex, central medulla. In between the two, the vast area is paracortex. The cortex has cells, B cells. They develop in the bone marrow and come to the secondary lymphoid organs. The B lymphocytes, they are antibody producing cells. And macrophages, they are phagocytes. Follicular dendritic cells. Dendritic cells present in between the follicles are follicular dendritic cells. These cells are found in the cortex. Paracortex is found next to the cortex. The paracortex has T lymphocytes and interdigitating dendritic cells. The dendritic cells in between the T lymphocytes are interdigitating dendritic cells. Here the cells are shown in brown color. These dendritic cells present the antigen to the T lymphocytes. So T lymphocytes will destroy. T lymphocytes are produced in thymus. Paracortex is a T dependent area where T lymphocytes are there. Cortex has B lymphocytes in the form of follicles. And medulla cells are arranged with lot of space, sparsely populated by lymphocytes. But medulla has more number of antibody producing cells called as plasma cells. The B lymphocytes are differentiated into plasma cells. B lymphocytes become plasma cells while producing antibodies. They produce more antibodies. So these antibodies also attack the antigen which is filtered inside the lymph node. A lymph node has inlet lymph vessels. Lymph vessels bring lymphatic fluid to the lymph nodes. The lymphatic fluid contains antigen also, and slowly the incoming lymph vessels send the lymph into the cortex, and through cortex the lymph flows through the medulla slowly, paracortex, then it comes to the medulla. Cortex has macrophages, dendritic cells and B lymphocytes. Paracortex has T cells and dendritic cells. All the cells attack the antigen which is moving through the lymph, and in the medulla the cells produce antibodies. So all attack and destroy the antigen, and the pure lymph exits through the outgoing lymph vessel. Finally the lymph enters into the blood. So in this way the lymph node filters a lymph-borne antigen and destroys the antigen. Lymph node is a secondary lymphoidal organ. It receives lymphocytes from primary lymphoidal organs. Here the lymphocytes proliferate. The lymphocytes increase in number while destroying the antigen. When there is severe infection, the lymph nodes expand by producing more lymphocytes. The green color indicates the normal size of the lymph node, and the abnormal size, the red color, due to the production of more lymphocytes when there is severe infection. This is the inner lining of digestive tract, small intestine. This lining is protected by the lymphatic tissue in the form of grooves called as Peyer's patches. Peyer's patches are lymphatic tissues found in the mucus secreting lining of small intestine. These Peyer's patches also have lymphocytic cells, macrophages, dendritic cells, T cells and B cells. Tonsils are lymphatic tissues found inside the mouth cavity. Palatine tonsil is found. This is palatine tonsil. Pharyngeal tonsil is found inside where the nasal passage enters into the pharynx. Pharyngeal tonsil is called as adenoid. These tonsils are lymphatic tissues. They produce lymphocytes to protect the linings. Spleen is a secondary lymphoidal organ. It is a blood filter. It filters the blood. Lymph node filters lymph. Spleen filters blood. Spleen is located at the upper part of the abdominal cavity, just below the diaphragm. It is found at the left side of the stomach. The spleen filters the blood. It has B cells and T cells. B cells produce antibodies. T cells involve in cell mediated immunity. And lymph is filtered by lymph node. Blood is filtered by spleen. Spleen is a secondary lymphoidal organ. Lymph node is a secondary lymphoidal organ. In this part we have learned different kinds of secondary lymphoidal organs.